Welcome everyone to yet another video, and today the topic is about the ABC method. Now the ABC method, which is a method for prioritizing tasks, is a very useful system for you to be able to know what you should do first and what you should wait with. And it's a method that's been advocated by a lot of different authors, among them Stephen Covey. And before we start on the actual method, I just want to talk a little bit generally about setting priorities. In hospitals, the way they determine who should be treated first, for instance, in an ER situation, is they look at, who needs the help the most. And this is called triaging. So, for instance, if a person comes into the hospital with a headache, that person is not going to be treated before a person who comes in there with a stab wound or with some form of blood trauma. So there's priorities. Who needs the treatment first? And you need to do the same thing to your studying needs. You need to determine the subjects that are prioritized based on the level of difficulty, but also on the impact that that subject has on your studies. So if you know that you have a lot of different subjects that you need to study for this term, and you know that you have a particularly difficult time to study calculus, for instance, then you should put more time on that and should be prioritized highly. Similarly, if a certain subject has a lot of impact on your studies, for instance, you need it for your postgraduate studies or you need it for some later course, then obviously just by that fact it becomes more important. So make a list of all of the most important subjects that you have in order. And then even within this specific subjects, you can order which chapters are more difficult for you, which topics are more difficult and which are easier. And then you can sort of begin with the difficult task, work downwards. So what is the ABC method? Well, in order to understand this, you have to understand that not all tasks are the same. Some are important and others are urgent. And urgency and importance is not the same. So in this matrix here, you can see basically things that are urgent and important. So for instance, a crying baby, your kitchen being on fire, things like that. Obviously it's urgent, it's pressing, you have to address it right now, and it's also very important. Then you have things that are important, but they're not urgent. So planning comes under this heading, exercise, all of these things, they're important in life, but they're not urgent at this particular moment. And then you have things that are urgent but not important, like somebody just interrupting you, a call, things like this. And then you have the last category, things that are not urgent and they're not important, trivia and people wasting your time. So based on this, we can sort of make a scale and we can sort of create different categories. And these categories are A, B, and C. So what you need to ask yourself is a particular task important? And if that task is important, then it's yes. But then you ask yourself, is it urgent? Do I need to do it right now? And if you answer in the affirmative, well, then you place it under A. You place it under the category A. And that means, these tasks are the most important, they're the most urgent. I need to start with those. And then secondly, you look again, is this task important? Is it urgent? No, it's important, but it's not urgent. Well, then you place it in B because it's still important, but you don't need to do it right now. And then you have tasks which are not urgent. You don't need to do them right now, but they're important. It's sort of like the planning that I was talking about, administration work, an email message that's not urgent that you can respond to in a few days' time. It depends. Some messages are more important, others are less important. Sorry for that. So this you place under the category of C. So it's not urgent, but it's important. And then the last category you just skip. You don't need to bring this into your to-do list. So I hope this helped, and hopefully it should make it more clearer and easier for you to create a to-do list that is more structured. And in a different video, you should be able to find a specific video where we're going to talk about to-do lists and task managers and how you can handle your tasks in a more efficient manner.